always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
It is live from Washington today. The foxhole of freedom is in the nation's capital, has been all week. We're kicking off another brand new day here at the Steve Gruber Show. Thank you for being here with us. A lot to cover today. It is Free Speech, Free for All Friday. We'll get to that, but here are the three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, the pressure building on the billion-dollar fraud scheme allegedly perpetrated by the Somali community in Minnesota to steal welfare money so bad that Ilhan Omar is speechless. Remarkable. Number two, President Trump welcomed the leaders of Rwanda and the Congo to the White House before traveling to the Trump Institute of Peace to sign a deal formally ending a decades-long war. And number three, as I said, it is Free Speech, Free for All Friday. It's your chance to be heard, and we'll get to that. The Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. But first, the big story out of Washington. After waiting 5 long years, we have a suspect accused of planting the pipe bombs outside the DNC and RNC on January the 5th of 2021. It is a big deal. The FBI and local police swarmed the home of Brian Cole Jr. yesterday morning, a 30-year-old man we know very little about. He is the first major suspect we've had in this case since the bombs were first discovered on the afternoon of January the 6th. And more. For those of you who need a refresher, before yesterday, we knew that somebody planted 2 pipe bombs, one outside the RNC at 7:30 and 8:30 at night on January the 5th. They weren't discovered until 1 o'clock in the afternoon the next day, right as protesters breached the Capitol, diverting important resources from the Capitol at a critical time, despite the fact the Secret Service used 2 K-9 teams and more than 10 agents to conduct 2 sweeps earlier outside that DNC building, passing within feet of the bomb. They didn't find it. Even after the bomb was discovered, a security perimeter was not effectively maintained. Pedestrians, vehicles, even a speaker's motorcade, including high-ranking elected officials, were allowed to pass dangerously close to a live device. It was an active bomb. And then with all this security footage in hand, the FBI and DOJ never found a suspect over the course of 5 years. It makes you wonder what the priority was at the DOJ under the Biden administration. The suspect, Brian Cole Jr., apparently wasn't intimidated one bit by authorities. That search warrant you saw earlier was executed in a suburb just outside of D.C. He didn't even feel the need to flee Virginia. You'd have thought this was something that the January 6th committee would have been interested in. You know, the committee that cost taxpayers $17 million, double the budget that they had, by the way. But no, Benny Thompson told Thomas Massey last year that he never even saw footage of the pipe bomber, never even watched it. Listen to this.
Are you concerned about the lackadaisical attitude of the secret, or maybe you haven't seen the video? Have you seen the video of this discovery of the second pipe bomb?
No. Let me just say, a lot of what you've said here today, I have not been privy to, but I am of the opinion that if the chairman wants to look into that, you convince him to issue the subpoena, I'll go with him.
If I would like to show you that video at some point. I'm surprised your committee did not find it. I mean, there were 2 bombs that day, and according to FBI and ATF and Capitol Police, they were operable, viable bombs.
Viable bombs. Here's the biggest point made yesterday. There was no new evidence. Nothing new, no new tip, no new evidence. Here's FBI Director Kash Patel from the press conference yesterday at the DOJ.
It's possible. As the Attorney General said, we did not discover any new information. What we did, an investigation spearheaded by the Deputy Director and the ADIC of our Washington field office, brought in a new team of investigators and experts, re-examined every piece of evidence, sifted through all the data, something that the prior administration refused and failed to do. As a result of that, we generated numerous investigative leads, executed multiple legal process with our U.S. attorney partners, and came to this conclusion today. And that is why we were able to safely secure this individual into custody.
Yeah, the Biden administration spent 4 years lecturing you and me, the American public, on the danger of right-wing terrorists. And here they had the perfect example of what could be won. They never chased it down. Did they know something we didn't? This case has always been full of questions that we've never had answers to because Biden's DOJ and FBI were too busy labeling Catholics and grandmom as domestic terrorist concerns and arresting old ladies for praying outside abortion clinics. Deputy Director Dan Bongino says yesterday's arrest is the result of an administration that means business. Here he is.
Folks, this is what it's like when you work for a president who tells you to go get the bad guys and stop focusing on other extraneous things not related to law enforcement. This is what happens. We had a great team. I know it's said a lot in this business. It was a team effort. It becomes cliche, but cliches are useful for a reason because they matter. And this was a
Yeah, that's exactly what I voted for. A president who wants to get the bad guys and empowers men and women to do so. This is the result of patience. We get the public. We don't get to see what's going on behind closed doors while guys like Patel and Bongino and Pam Bondi work toward making good on their promises to the American public, like we saw yesterday. That doesn't mean it isn't happening. Attorney General Pam Bondi says Patel and Bongino have long been focused on this case. It's been a priority. Here's what she said.
Deputy Director Bongino and Director Patel, I watched them from day one come in here and say, we are going to solve this crime. And they did.
And they did. And if you wonder why it takes 10 months to find a suspect, U.S. Attorney for D.C., Janine Pirro, described the kind of tedious work that went into solving this case. Here she is, the prosecutor that's going to take this, as she says, across the finish line.
For example, there were 233,000 black end caps of the type that were used in this case. I want you to think about the fact that the FBI had to go through the sale of every one of them to try to find commonality with an individual, along with the purchase of the pipe itself, the cap ends, the wires, the steel, and the 9-volt batteries. Every one of those had to be mined and remined to the point where we were able to then connect. And make no mistake, it was this administration, it was this president who made the decision that we were going to use all of our efforts to get it done, and get it done they did.
Obviously, Christopher Wray wasn't willing to commit that kind of manpower to this case. The outstanding question is still why? Why did it take so long? Bondi says no motive has been discovered yet, and the search warrant just executed yesterday, but more charges could be forthcoming. I can only hope that a lot more light is shed on this case. What we have so far is thanks to a new kind of FBI, one that, according to Patel and Bondi and Bongino, is trying to earn back the public's trust while getting the job done. Why did it take 5 years? Was it not a priority? Was it not? Yes. That's my concern. They claimed earlier this week on mainstream media, by the way, that the FBI was a rudderless ship under Patel's leadership. I guess not. The establishment hooligans don't like change, but they can't argue with the results. The results are in. They've got a suspect. Your calls on a Free Speech Free for All Friday after the break. This is the Steve Gruber Show live from Washington, D.C. All right. Free speech, free for all Friday. Brought to you by Patriot Mobile's Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. Time to hear from you, America. 877-310-9966. Go ahead, dial it up and get involved with the program. We do it every Friday. It's kind of our tribute to Rush Limbaugh in his open line Fridays, I suppose. We start with Patrick in Las Vegas. Patrick, how are you today?
Thank you, Mr. Steve the Truth Gruber. It's going to be bigger than Rush Limbaugh. I would like to speak a little bit about this auto pen. They're finally realizing, and us Americans have seen on television evidence of Joe's declined cognitive ability, that his doctor, who took an oath as a military doctor, should have reported him year after year that he was not able to be in charge of this nuclear suitcase to protect our country. His military doctor needs to be investigated by Pete Hegseth. Get over there and let's get to him under a military questionability.
Patrick, thank you for the phone call. His doctor, by the way, also took the Fifth Amendment more than 100 times when in front of a congressional panel trying to figure out what Joe Biden's cognitive abilities were. Who knew it? What was going on? What about the auto pen? Who was actually running it? It's a huge scandal. Donald Trump says all of his auto pen signatures are null and void. I don't know if that has legal weight or not, but here's the thing. If it goes to court, well, then you get this thing called discovery. Then you get a lot of witnesses. We've already had witnesses tell members of Congress they don't know who was authorizing the auto pen. That's a big problem. Patrick, thank you for the call. Frank is in North Carolina today. Frank, welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Steve, and to all your listeners. I was watching this show in the beginning of the week when you have, I believe his name was Mr. Cardone, and you guys were talking about affordability and lowering the interest rates for housing and cars and all that kind of stuff, which is 100% true. I wish you would give the equal amount of time on saying the opposite side of that coin. When conservative investors buy CDs and treasuries, the interest rates are going to go down and they're going to lose perhaps billions of dollars across the country, which will make things less affordable. So please give your audience as much time as on the one side of the coin as the other. Thank you. Thank you.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Yes, Grant Cardone was here. He believes that 50-year mortgages, he said, might as well take it. You save $300, $400, $500 a month. He says it doesn't matter because you're going to have your house for 8 years. You're going to move again anyway. He also said that houses are a terrible investment. He's always said that. But most Americans would like one, in my estimation. I bought my first one when I was 19. The average age now, 39. 39 to buy a house. Remarkable, isn't it? Let's go to Patrick in Pennsylvania. Patrick, how are you today?
Good. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good. What's on your mind?
Can you hear me? Yeah. So my wife and I are on Medicaid in Pennsylvania, and we just got our renewal packet about a week ago. And in my renewal packet, it shocked the hell out of me. There was, let's see, this is right here, request for a mail-in ballot. So Pennsylvania, for the healthcare with pending.
I thought you said this
Medicaid.
was a Medicaid questionnaire.
Well, no, it was a Medicaid renewal for our insurance.
All right.
And when we got our renewal in the mail, it came with a Pennsylvania voter registration application. I can't make this up. I contacted my local election office and let them know, and they had no idea. So the fix is in Pennsylvania.
Well, the fix isn't in.
Renewal.
I can assure you, Patrick, here's why. Pennsylvania went red. Pennsylvania will likely go red again because working class people in America want a chance. I appreciate the phone call. But I think it's an important thing you bring to our attention. We've got to stop these games. The motor voter law sounded innocuous when it was first put into place. It's turned into a method and a pipeline to get people registered to vote that don't have the ability or the right to vote. We need voter ID. We need the SAFE Act. We need all of these things to make America's elections trustworthy. How about that for a word? Trustworthy. Lee is in North Carolina. Lee, what's on your mind today?
How you doing, Steve?
Good. What's up?
Do you know why President Trump disrespected Marjorie Taylor Greene? And I don't know if you can tell me or not, but if you know, I'd appreciate knowing. That's got me baffled. I'm not happy with President Trump about, disrespecting her.
Well, Lee, I appreciate the phone call. A lot of people concerned about that argument, that public feud, if you will, that led to Marjorie Taylor Greene's resignation. She's leaving Congress on January the 5th. A lot of people concerned about that. Clearly, President Trump was not happy about some of her policy decisions, but it went someplace that I don't believe was helpful to any of us. If we're trying to keep the country on the right track, if we want to keep a secure border, lower the cost of everything, inflation today under 3%. If we want to keep those things, we need to have a team that stands together just like the other side. And anything short of that is going to not work out too well. Let's go to Steve in West Virginia. Steve, good morning. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Steve. I wanted to talk about the pipe bomb. I think, of course, everybody knows that terrorists protect terrorists. They had no intention on catching the man that planted the bombs during Biden era. I believe Donald Trump should classify them years of the politicians as terrorists. They're still in office working right now, along with
Some of them are,
judges
Steve.
and attorneys.
I appreciate the phone call. Look, here's the deal. I don't think there was any energy, any urgency to catch this pipe bomber. He didn't fit the narrative. Now that we have him in custody, now that he's in federal custody and facing prosecution, it's pretty clear he doesn't fit the narrative that the left is so keen to protect. We'll have more after the break. It's Free Speech, Free for All Friday, brought to you by Patriot Mobile at 877-310-9966. I think we're all surprised by the arrest of Brian Cole Jr. for a variety of reasons. We're going to learn a lot more about this guy, living quietly as a hermit almost with his mother in suburban Washington, out about 30 miles in Virginia. We'll keep an eye on all of this as it continues to come in. He's only 5'6", wears corrective glasses, African-American, 30 years old, and not the guy that I would look for to be a suspect, I'll tell you that. Let's go to Jesse in Florida. Jesse, how are you today? What's on your mind?
Yeah, good morning, Steve. I worked in the Washington area. I came from a small town in Pennsylvania, and I learned right away that the Washington establishment is like high school cool kids clique. If you don't fit into that group, they will be there no matter what, and they will not let you in. The thing of the matter is, these staffers on Capitol Hill and on the major political parties will always be there no matter who is in power, who gets elected, who leaves. They have to protect their jobs, and they're kind of like a shadow government or like the civil service.
That's exactly right.
They will always be around there. If they've got something to protect for their political party, they're going to do that, and they need to be investigated as well as the people at the top.
I agree with you, Jesse. It's the staffers that move from person to person. Doesn't matter who gets
Yeah.
elected, who doesn't
Yes,
get elected.
exactly.
They just move around from office to office, and they know how everything works. They understand how the keys to the car make it run. They're the ones that write the bills.
Exactly.
They're the ones that get together in back rooms and in bar rooms
Yeah. Yeah.
and get together. You're
Yeah,
exactly
but
right.
people
Jesse, thank you for
in
the phone call.
the country don't really
Yeah.
know how Washington works. This is how it works.
Yeah, not
They
very
have
well.
shadow government that are never going to be touched, maybe until now. Thank God for Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and the new justice system. Thank God.
Jesse, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. She's right. They just move from place to place and spot to spot. Today's episode brought to you by PuroClean's Veterans Initiative, PuroVet. Veterans, if you're ready to be your own boss, join a trusted brand and serve your community in a new way. 855 PuroVet to find out more. They'll move you to the front of the line. You can also check out PuroVet.com. This restoration company is first class, and you as a veteran get treated first class. PuroVet.com, 855 PuroVet. I'll be right back. Yeah, I tip my hat to the teamwork, to all the law enforcement agencies involved with bringing this suspect into custody, Brian Cole Jr. We'll learn more as the days go on, as the internet sleuths do their job. But remember this, don't trust all those memes and things you see on the internet. You're going to see garbage out there. Be sure to fact check it or just come here. We're going to tell you the truth on this network and make sure that you have the facts, not the fallacies. It is free speech, free for all Friday, powered by the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline. You can find out more at patriotmobile.com. Promo code Gruber, you're going to save some money, maybe get some free service for a month or two. So patriotmobile.com/Gruber. Let's go to Wisconsin. Alvin has been on the line waiting. Alvin, how are you today?
Hello.
How are you? What's on your mind?
Hello.
All right. Next, Ellen in Michigan. How are you today? Welcome to the program. Glad to have you on the show.
I'm
What's
doing
on your
well.
mind?
Earlier this week in Traverse City, we had the largest drug bust ever. 42 arrests were made. I only watched this news channel, so I didn't hear about it on any other news channel, but on a prayer call.
Really? So what kind of folks were brought into custody? What kind of drugs are we talking about? Are we talking about fentanyl? Are we talking about, what are we talking about here?
Fentanyl, there were two other kinds of drugs.
So the poison is all, and for anybody who doesn't know, Traverse City, Michigan is in northern Michigan. It's a kind of a tourist town. It's a beautiful area. And the drugs have penetrated that deep into America. Let me ask you how you feel about the war on drugs and how it's being executed right now with the attack on these drug-running boats. For it or against it?
Oh, I'm for it. I'm for it. I don't do any drugs at all, and I'm definitely for it.
I appreciate that, Ellen. Thank you for the phone call. Thank you for stopping in today. We go all over the country to find out what's on your mind. How do you feel about the economy? How do you feel about possible intervention in Venezuela? Donald Trump said twice this week, I'm here in Washington, he said twice this week at least, that there's going to be ground activity when it comes to stopping the drug cartels in Venezuela. Well, what about Mexico? How do you feel about those things? How do you feel about any of the headlines? Ken, in South Carolina, you're next. Hope you're doing well in the Palmetto State. What's on your mind?
Hey, Steve, what gets me, and it bothers me deeply, is that we got two parties up there in Washington today in Congress, and it's either one way or the other way. Why can't both of them come together and work for the people? And if they would do that and vote for what each state needs in their area, then we wouldn't have a third of these laws passed that these people pass. Thank you.
Ken, it's a great point you make. I'll say this about President Trump this week. He did cross party lines. He pardoned Henry Cuellar, the congressman, Democrat from Texas. And it's a big move. Now, Henry Cuellar was asked, hey, are you going to become a Republican now? The answer was no, I'm a Democrat. Donald Trump did what needs to be done. That's reach across the aisle. It needs to happen more. I agree with you on that point. But there are certain things we can never agree on. The Green New Deal, garbage. Woke ideas, garbage. DEI, garbage. We're not going to buy into those sorts of things. But Donald Trump did something, and he's schooling the Democrats. He's taking them to school on how you do this. Look, you Democrats, you talk about working together, but you never do. Donald Trump reaches out and pardons a Democrat accused of financial crimes, and there it is. James is in Indiana today. James, how are you today? Welcome to the program.
Hey, Steve, how are you doing?
Good. What's up?
When are we going to go after these temp services that give illegal aliens jobs?
Temp services, you know, that's something that I've heard before. There's all different ones. I'm not going to name any of them. We all know who they are. They've been around for years. And you say these temp services that are putting people into office buildings or cleaning services or gardening or whatever it might be, that they're hiring illegals. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, they're factory jobs too.
Yeah. So how do we stop that? Well, E-Verify. It has to be strict, it has to be enforced, and there have to be real penalties in the law. That's what has to happen. E-Verify. It's a great call and a great point you make, James, because if people are sneaking through and getting jobs that could otherwise go to Americans. There was this story a few months back, might have been Kansas, might have been Iowa, I'm not sure, in the center of the country. There was a raid at a meat packing plant. You guys probably remember this. And ICE came in, they arrested dozens of illegals working there in the meat packing plant. And the scream from the left was, well, these are jobs that Americans won't do. The next day, the very next day, the front office of that company was packed with local people applying for those jobs that Americans would never take, disproving completely that garbage. Of course, Americans would take the job. They're just not going to do it for $5 an hour. They're going to do it for the going rate. And if that means the cost of labor at that particular plant goes up, well, so be it. But stop hiring cheap labor at the expense of America, and we'll be better off. Good call. Brian is in Michigan. Brian, how are you today?
Good morning, my brother. I just wanted to call and tell you how much I enjoyed having dinner with you and Ivy at the Mar-a-Lago this summer, first of all. It was a great time, and Ivy is clearly the bomb. I don't know how you found her, but she is awesome. So
Yeah,
anyways,
I don't know
spent
either.
the last 3 days trying to verify for Social Security. I was on 3-hour hold last night waiting to make an appointment to verify myself in order to apply for Medicare this year because Blue Cross canceled the policy that was available to me. So I don't know how's it going with that, but it's got to get fixed.
I agree with you on that, Brian, and thank you for the nice words. I do appreciate it. Hey, some new news in now. This comes to me from Benny Johnson and the Benny Show. I know Benny a little bit. Here's what Benny has just posted on X. Ivy sent this to me. Of course, she's in the home office, and I'm here in Washington, D.C. Young black man, radical anti-Trump activist, sued the Trump administration, sued ICE, sued DHS, a racial justice advocate. His family company is a bail bonds company. You know who they work for primarily? To get illegals released from jail. That is what they do. And this is information that continues to come out, and it's posted there. It explains why the DOJ and the FBI could not find this guy for 4 years. The Biden FBI had mountains of evidence against Brian Cole. This is Benny Johnson's claim. Receipts, cell data, license plate, photos, videos of the crime. He believes that they knew exactly who it was. I think that's entirely possible. They had no motivation. Their priorities were wrong. They wanted to throw 1,500 people in jail for the January 6th fiasco. And look, that was a bad day. But you're running down grandma in Oklahoma because she took 3 steps into the Capitol to arrest her, and Brian Cole Jr. was 30 miles away living with his mom, having planted 2 pipe bombs, one outside the RNC, one outside the DNC. And did you know that Kamala Harris was inside that building for an extended period of time? At the time that that live bomb was sitting outside? Yeah. Brian's profile, by the way, destroys this whole MAGA white supremacist insurrection nonsense. They keep trying to tell you it's me, people that look like me. It's white men are the big danger to America. Not today. A lot of people are a danger to America. And they look all sorts of ways. And so that blows up the narrative in the left face today now, doesn't it? I'll take a break. More Free for All Friday after this. All right, back to it now. Look, it's Free Speech, Free for All Friday. We do it every Friday here. It's my chance to hear from you. It's kind of my tribute to Rush Limbaugh, who did Open Line Fridays, of course, for years and years. It's our chance to hear from you, America, and we appreciate doing that because we need to know what's going on all across this country, from California to Connecticut and all points in between. Brent is in Oklahoma, beautiful place, big whitetails. I love Oklahoma. Brent, how are you?
I'm doing great, and I appreciate your show, and I thank you for letting me speak my truth. I love Cash and Don Gino and all them, but I'm a little cynical of this FBI arresting this guy. I think it's a uniparty thing going on, and I think what they should do, first of all, is document this guy with DNA samples, because I'm afraid this guy's going to end up disappearing. I don't think it's even his real name. I think it's a fictitious character, but that's just me. I'm cynical after seeing all this, the lies and deceit going on in our country.
Man, you don't trust anybody, Brett, but that's okay. A lot of people don't, and I understand that. Thank you for the call. I do. I get it. But here's a thought for you guys. You know you're going to have a bad day when you slide the curtain back and there's 15 FBI cars, a helicopter over top, and somebody pounding on your door. You're about to have a bad day. You know when it's going to be worse? When you realize the prosecutor is Janine Pirro. That's when you know it's going to be a worse day for you than you even imagined. She is so focused. She is so to the point. And she said yesterday clearly she'll get it across the finish line. I believe her. She's seen the evidence, obviously. They know what's going on. But again, I have a lot of questions as to why this took 5 years. And I think that I side with a lot of you folks, and they didn't want to find him, or they didn't care about finding him because they'd rather arrest some guy that walked in the Capitol for 5 minutes back on January the 6th. They pushed it to the side. All right, so there's that. Carla is in the great state of Arizona. Carla, welcome to the program. Glad to have you here. What's on your mind?
Well, in tribute to Rush Limbaugh, I'm just going to say ditto to you. Thanks for this platform you give everybody. It's just wonderful. I really appreciate it. And I just have a quick couple things. I think the problem with the wedge that the local news is driving in between everybody is telling all these lies. And my next door neighbor is 85 years old. She's terrified that everybody's just going to be picked up off the street out here. And the news has to let everybody know that this whole immigration thing is real. And these people are in our country, and we can't go over to Mexico and cause all kinds of problems or anywhere else. And these poor people that are so great, wonderful, and let me tell you, they are true Republicans, by the way. But they're scared because their local news is creating a bunch of wrong narratives. And how, as a neighbor, I'm a neighbor, as people, we need to just be kind and truthful. But when I hear this, it really enrages me because I get your truth. I see truth on Real America's Voice, and thank God we have that. But
I agree with that.
ABs, all these other networks they're just not even picking up on this bomber. They're not picking up on anything. They're telling community stories about drag queens or whatever. Still, they're having, and I think there should be a regulation for at least there should be something nice, maybe a day about President Trump once a day. That would be kind of nice.
Carla, I appreciate your phone call. I do. You've made a lot of great points. The problem is that these folks, and look, I'm in a building right here. I'm in a building right here in Washington, D.C., in the shadow, literally in the shadow of the Capitol. It's no more than a block and a half away. And in this building is Fox, NBC, C-SPAN, News Nation. They're all in this same building. And it makes me wonder, they walk around these same streets that I do in Washington, D.C. And I walked around last night and I saw some National Guard folks, and they're of no concern whatsoever. They're nice folks. They are. And most people appreciate them being here, most, except those that want to burn some sort of political stake, right? Other than that, it's a great relationship. But I wonder what they think on the other floors of this building and how they arrive at the things that they decide to put on the air. It's a great point, Carla, because I don't know how they get their so-called facts half the time, many of which are often disproven. I mean, look at 60 Minutes. It used to be a proud program. It's of no value anymore. 60 Minutes is a program of no value. It's a long way from where it was in 1975, isn't it? Let's go to Paul in North Carolina. Paul, how are you today?
Good morning, Steve. Like Rush, I'm so happy that you give Americans a chance to air their frustrations. The point I want to make is that the past couple of months, I live in Union County, North Carolina, in a rural area. And I would go out in the morning. It was probably like 6 times the past 2 months, where the sky is just covered with chemtrails. And I could see the drones flying over, and it looks like it's a big mosaic. And this never happens. I'm not on a flight path for commercial jets. Commercial jets fly a lot higher.
What do you think it is?
I'm wondering what in the world are they doing to the air?
What do you think it is? I mean, I hear people call about this. I don't know if I take it seriously or not. But a lot of people talk about it, and you take it seriously. So therefore, let's talk about it. What do you think they're doing? What do they think? What do you think they're putting in the air?
Well, they call it cloud seeding, supposed to promote rainfall. We've been in a moderate drought for the past month. We just got some rain recently, but I think they're doing something else in the air that's changing us. It's trying to genetically change us.
Well, Paul, I appreciate the phone call. I hope I'm not genetically changed before this program's over, because I am who I was raised to be, and that's a voice for the common people. That's why we do this. And I appreciate your kind comments, but we like to open up the phone line so that people know that you have a chance to talk, to be heard from Las Vegas or North Carolina or West Virginia or Wisconsin or wherever. And we'll continue doing it because we appreciate hearing from you. It's Free Speech, Free for All Friday, brought to you by Patriot Mobile's Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. I'll take a break and be back with more of your phone calls. Make sure you support Patriot Mobile. They are a great partner here, have been for years. PatriotMobile.com, promo code Gruber. You can get an American-based team that believes in your values for more than a dozen years now. They've got the best service because they've got all three major providers. You can have AT&T or Verizon or T-Mobile, whatever you think will work best for you. We've used it for years, Ivy and I, and we love it. So support Patriot Mobile. 877-310-9966 is the Common Sense hotline. Sandy is in Wisconsin today. Sandy, how are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning, Steve. Thanks for taking my call. My question is about the assassinations and the lack of reporting out on them. So we had 2 attempted assassinations on President Trump and 1 unfortunate, successful assassination on Charlie Kirk. And yet I never hear any report outs on it. What's going on? Where are they at? I'm getting frustrated with nothing coming from Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, on what's happening with these guys.
Well, I can tell you this, the Butler, Pennsylvania, Thomas Crooks, that is that's a very strange case. His body cremated, the evidence swept away, all of these phones connected to apps and foreign groups. That one I do have a lot of questions about. We need answers. But just like the pipe bomber, I'm going to say let's give them some space to do the work. I believe that's incredibly important. As far as the shooter, the assassin of Charlie Kirk, that's a death penalty case. So let me caution folks, it's a death penalty case. They can make no mistakes. In order to get the death penalty, it takes all 12 jurors, all 12, any deviation, and there's no death penalty. That's why they're being so very careful about the facts, about the case, about the evidence, about what's going to be presented. So if you don't hear something, take a deep breath, relax, let them do their job. Look, they delivered this pipe bomber, Brian Cole Jr., alleged pipe bomber, Brian Cole Jr., after almost 5 years. Give them a little bit of time. I think they've earned it today. This is the Steve Gruber Show. I will continue with your phone calls after the break, 877-310-9966. It is Free Speech, Free for All Friday, live from Washington, D.C. There's always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. Man. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Let's kick off another brand new hour here of the Steve Gruber Show live from Washington, D.C. this week. It's been an interesting week, to say the least. A very busy week for the president. Signing executive orders, of course, meeting with world leaders to end war, all of that. We'll continue to cover all of that throughout the rest of the day. Three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, once again, the narrative against Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is falling apart as the admiral at the center of the new hysterical left-wing outburst says there was no kill them all order given at any time, period. Number two, Democrat Senator Mark Kelly, a Navy and NASA veteran, keeps pushing the idea that the U.S. military is getting unlawful orders. It is subversive and it is dangerous, but he keeps saying it. You know why. And number three, free speech. Free for All Friday, brought to you by Patriot Mobile and the Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. I want to jump right back into the calls. Mike is in Florida today. Mike, what's on your mind in the free state of Florida?
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to speak to the Marjorie Taylor Greene situation with her resignation. She needs to keep in mind that quitters never win, but winners never quit. Thanks for taking my call.
I greatly appreciate that. That's my complaint, not just to Marjorie Taylor Greene, but to Mark Green. He was the congressman from Tennessee who got a big job offer and said, well, I'm just going to go take the money. You campaigned for the job. You told people you're going to do the job. Politics is ugly. It's hard. I don't like people resigning midterm unless they've got a health issue or a family health crisis or something like that. That I can understand. Family first. Other than that, I don't have much sympathy for that. Don is in Illinois today. Don, good morning. Welcome to it. All right, Don, we're going to go once, twice. All right, put Don back on hold. Timothy is in Michigan. Timothy, how are you today?
Hi, Steve. How are you doing today? Hey,
I'm good.
I just wanted to elaborate on the breaking news from yesterday, and I shared this with Michon, Maddock, and of the other electors that a Michigan court has ruled against Jocelyn Benson in a lawsuit brought by the Michigan Republican Party, and this was in Chesterfield Township, that they ruled against her with regards to the voting process, that she disregarded a critical anti-fraud mechanism that the state legislature has, and she was ruled against yesterday. And with that, I want to just say Merry Christmas to you, Steve, and thank God for Steve Gruber. And I'll let you go and let you do your thing.
Yeah, and so I'll bring this to you from Michigan News Source. It's my news company. It's right there on the front page. It's another swing and a miss for Democratic Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, her Democrat election procedures. Michigan Court of Claims ruled Wednesday that election inspectors cannot count absentee ballots if the identifying number on the ballot stub does not match the number on the return envelope. Why would you want to count that anyway? Unless you really like fraud. In addition, the stub cannot be missing. Yeah. So once again, Jocelyn Benson loses. Ray is in North Carolina. Ray, welcome to the program.
Hello.
All right. Yeah, Ray, go ahead. You're on the air.
I'm in Florida.
All right, fine. You're in Florida. Sorry about that. I'll reprimand Brock later.
Okay.
But welcome to the program.
I'll make this quick. I've been holding. No, it's okay. I'll make this quick. What I get upset about, and a lot of people are getting upset about, is all these investigations that are being done with the deep state and AOC and Mondami and everybody who's broken the law, and we don't see anybody in cuffs. The average person would be hauled off into jail. Why aren't we seeing any action? I understand they're doing a lot of stuff throughout the country, and they're, but you got to prioritize. Mondami cannot be sworn in January. I'm a native New Yorker. I'll never go back. You know, so where are the gallows? Where are
Well, let me
the?
ask you this, Ray. Why do you think, real quickly, why can he not be sworn in? He won the election. He's
Well,
a
first of all, he lied on his
naturalized citizen.
immigration application. Listen, he lied on his application to immigration, and then he took monies from foreign entities during his campaign.
There you go.
That's illegal.
There you go. I just wanted you to give the facts, ma'am. Thank you for that. Greatly appreciate the phone call. She's right, by the way. From reporting from different places, she's right about that. It is concerning and it's disqualifying. She's not wrong. Pete is in Tennessee. Pete, how are you today?
Hey, I'm good. What I wanted to talk about was why all these people hollering about Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump giving orders. Why aren't you, and I'm going to ask you, if you did it, I'm sorry because I missed it, but why ain't they talking about when Obama made all our military boys sign papers that they asked the question, if you was ordered to fire upon the American people, would you follow that order? My son was in the military at the time, and he called me and was asking, what do I do? What do I do? And my only answer I could give him was sign the thing because George Washington used the military against the people, and Abraham Lincoln did. So, but that ought to be a bigger deal than what Pete Hegseth might have said or what Donald Trump says. Thank you.
Pete, thank you. Thank you very much. I need somebody to verify what he just said for me. I'm not in the military. I need the Jeffrey. Are you out of bed yet? I need the Jeffrey to look into that for me. Tell me if that's true or false, and we'll find out more, and we'll bring it to you here. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It is the Steve Gruber Show live from
We got more time.
the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong clock here. Thank you, Brock. Too many clocks in the studio. All right, let's go to Ken in Michigan then. Ken, you got lots of time. What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to quickly address two phrases I heard this morning, and this is the problem we have in our country today, Steve. One was my truth. The other was your truth. And, Steve, there is only one truth. Example, 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 1 can't be whatever you think it is. And I think we need to address that fact. People look around.
Wait, are you suggesting, Ken, are you suggesting that 1 + 1 cannot identify as 3? Just throwing it out.
Exactly, Steve. Exactly.
All right.
And that's
Greatly
the problem we
appreciate the
have
call.
in our country today, Steve.
There's truth to that. You're right. There's too many people that believe too many unserious things. Like the lady that called and said her neighbor thinks that they're all going to get picked up. Rose is in Florida. Rose, let's have it. Welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you so much for taking my call because it's very important for me to get President Trump. Thank you for blowing up these ships and boats and whatever he's blowing up. I'm telling you right now, I just about lost my son, and he's been sober and clean for 6 years, and he gave his life to the Lord. And I just want to thank President Trump. Thank you so much. We, the people, really appreciate you, and you have no idea what you have done for our family. And I know there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way I do. I praise God for our president. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Well done. Now we can go to break from Washington, D.C. on the Steve Gruber Show on a Free for All Friday. 2 years ago, I did a documentary for the Epic Times. It's called flatlinefilm.com. You can go find it. The film's called Flatline. And it was about hospital closures, the expense of healthcare in America. And one of the big problems was the consolidation of healthcare and hospitals. One big healthcare group will go and buy a group of hospitals and decide, well, we bought 4, but if we get rid of 2 of those, we can be more profitable, eliminating healthcare in some towns and driving the cost up. And joining me now is Michael Toth. He is from the Washington Times, is writing about this right now. Michael, welcome to the program.
Great to be on, Steve. Yeah, you put your finger on a big problem.
Yeah, it is a huge problem. There's a lot of different problems with healthcare in America. One of them is the insurance companies getting enriched. By the way, one of the people in my documentary said that the insurance industry is far dirtier than the Russians, and he was a Russian analyst for the NSA, so I think he knows. You've got these big hospitals that do these giant mergers, and you've got this removal of healthcare systems altogether. And then you've got the government that is slow to pay, if they pay at all, and continue to cut rates. What is the biggest problem? This consolidation portion of it is big, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big problem. I mean, I think if we want to put our finger on it, it's all about competition and consumer choice. I mean, if we look at our healthcare system in the U.S., we've taken power away from the consumers. We've restricted the amount of competition, and that's true across the board. And what do we get when there's less competition? We get higher prices. And we've seen that. We saw that really across the board, even since Obamacare. I mean, President Obama said that Obamacare was going to lower healthcare premiums for a family of 4 by $2,500. They've gone up by $10,000 for that family of 4 since Obamacare passed. And since Obamacare passed, the concentration issues in the hospital space have actually gotten worse. And so, what we really need to do is put power back in the hands of consumers. And that's what my piece was all about in the Washington Times.
So how do we figure? I mean, there are so many components here. The president coming out with the idea of health savings accounts, Rand Paul adding some ideas to it as well. There has to be a change in the way we do this, because the taxpayer money, 20% or more of it, goes straight to the insurance companies who have recorded 10x profits since 2012 in the rollout of Obamacare. And that is incredibly important that we get to a point where we fix that. What do you think about health savings accounts? What do you think about controlling these mergers? What do you think about a better payout system from CMS? Because that's another problem with hospitals. 25 years ago, the government was reasonable about its repayment and its timeliness. Now, hospitals have entire departments of manpower and people and resources being chewed up just to get their reimbursements from the government. Another problem, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, Steve. I think we need an all hands on deck moment for American healthcare right now. And what that means is we need some deregulation, right? I mean, if we look at the Obamacare markets, they're radically overregulated. If you're young and healthy, you have to pay the same prices, basically. You have to overpay versus people who are not in that same risk pool that you are. And that's not because the insurance companies want it that way. That's because of the regulations that we put in place in the wake of Obamacare. So we've got to deregulate Obamacare. We've got to put money into consumers' hands through HSAs. We've got to fix the senseless payment rules where we're sending 100 cents on the dollar to insurance companies. That's going to have no positive impact in terms of making people want to spend less money versus more money. And then we've got to look at the supply issues. And that's what my article got into. That's what the Senate was talking about yesterday through Senator Jim Banks and the hearing he had. And what I'm talking about there is we've seen an incredible amount of consolidation. When you have less supply on the market, you're going to see less price competition. Hospitals make up a huge percentage of healthcare spending in the U.S., over $1 trillion. And a lot of times what the studies have shown is that that spend is being passed on to the insurers who are then passing it on to the consumers, right? It's the first domino that falls. So we need an all hands on deck moment. I called it shutdown care versus Obamacare because it's driving these government shutdowns. But I think if there's one silver lining to that, Steve, it's getting people in Washington to really start looking at the ground up on healthcare. We've got to bring the cost of healthcare down if we want to bring that cost of health insurance down. And that's going to take an all hands on deck approach.
I agree with you on that. Do you think that we're at least having conversations now that we have not been having, whether it's health savings accounts or dealing with the insurance payments or dealing with consolidation or dealing with all the pressures on healthcare. Look, if we have competition in the marketplace, you're going to get better rates on insurance. You're going to get people that are getting better health care because they'll know what things cost. If you go to a hospital, some of these procedures have 1,000 different codings. 1,000. It's not a joke. It's real. I mean, an MRI costs whatever an MRI costs. It doesn't cost $100 because you have this insurance and $500 because you have that insurance and $10,000 if you have no insurance at all. That makes no sense whatsoever to me. We need to fix that as well. We need to know what things cost.
Yeah, 100%. We need price transparency. And on your first point, Steve, absolutely. I think we're starting to have real conversations in Washington. I mean, these issues have been a blinking red light for the last 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, if you look at health insurance premiums, they went up 47% in the first year of the Obamacare exchanges. You know, and the Obamacare exchanges basically came online in 2014. So over a decade ago, we were seeing these affordability issues in healthcare. I think because Obamacare started to drive these government shutdowns where everything from air traffic control to other payments, you know, have basically been halted as a consequence of this one government program. It's caused everyone in Washington and on both sides of the aisle, frankly, at this point, to really start looking at what we can do holistically. And I think we, again, have to have an all hands on deck type approach. I mean, if we look at these cost increases, they are 3-4 times the rate of inflation.
Outrageous, yeah. It's outrageous.
It's absolutely outrageous.
Yeah. You can find Michael Toth's work at the WashingtonTimes.com, WashingtonTimes.com. You can read the article yourself. You can also look at the documentary I did, FlatlineFilm.com. A lot of insights there as well. Michael, thank you for doing the good work. Keep it up. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Steve. Great to be on.
Great to have you on. All right, we'll take a break and be right back. Live from Washington, D.C., a special edition of the Steve Gruber Show on a Free Speech, Free for All Friday. I'll be right back. I do want to thank Patriot Mobile for being such a great partner here with us, and the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. We open those lines up every Friday for you to check in, and that's what Wayne is doing from Kentucky. Wayne, welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Yes. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Yeah. When the Biden administration came into power, it seems like they brought with them a demonic plague. And it's still lingering on from these parties, you know, today, this party. There's a song, 1949. The name of it is Hitler Lives. I'd like to dedicate this song to these people.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, Wayne. We'll have to look that up and see if we can find it. Wayne, greatly appreciate you. Appreciate all of you. Go to patriotmobile.com. Use the promo code Gruber. You're going to find out about the best coverage in America with a company that has your back, which is different these days. Meanwhile, losing weight isn't about doing more. It's about finding out why your body stopped burning fat in the first place. My Pure Health uses breakthrough technology to uncover that why and create a solution unique to you. There are simple steps. There are 3. Get evaluated, follow your customized protocol, and eat real food. No gimmicks, no shots. That's key. No exercise required either. On average, men lose about 50 pounds in 40 days, women 30 pounds in 40 days. And best of all, they show you how to keep it off. Schedule your free consultation today. How do you do that? You go to gruberhealth.com. gruberhealth.com. Take the first step toward a healthier and slimmer you. By the way, if you schedule now, you don't have to start until January. Good news, right? gruberhealth.com. Real results, real food, real simple, and it really works because it worked for me. And if it'll work for me, trust me, it will work for you as well. Appreciate you being here. Again, that Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. 877-310-9966. Live from Washington, a special edition of the Steve Gruber Show. I'll take a break, and I'll be back after this. All right, my next guest is a guy who's been on this program a number of times. He travels a lot to some unsavory places, to say the least. He's been spending a lot of time recently in Lebanon. And I had a chance to talk to Todd Wood here at the Pentagon a couple of days ago. We were there getting our passes and getting access to the Pentagon, which is nice. He joins me now. Todd, nice to have you back on the program.
Great to see you, Steve. Looking good, man.
Great to see you. Look, here's the thing. We were talking about this because the persecution of Christians in Lebanon is real. It's been going on for decades. And America seems to turn a blind eye to it. And I said to you, I said, well, why is Nigeria, getting threats from the Trump administration to stop killing Christians or else? And Lebanon's basically ignored. And you said, because there's minerals in Nigeria, things of value. Is it really that simple?
Unfortunately, I think it is. Lebanon, and I've learned a lot about the place in the last year because I've been there many times, especially Beirut and the surrounding areas. It's the original Christian country. Christ walked in southern Lebanon. I spent time with a woman in hiding from Syria who was, her family was killed in a village, the last village that spoke Aramaic. And she recorded the Lord's Prayer to me in Aramaic, the language of Christ. And I just found it stunning that the U.S. government is not even talking about this. Syria, the first thing Golani did when he got into Syria, which the U.S. government supported, he's been to the White House, was kill a few thousand Christians in southern Lebanon. We're not talking about it. And my point is the White House needs to use the bully pulpit to protect the Christian community in the Middle East, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, etc.
Aramaic, it's fascinating. That's the original language of the Bible. It's what it was written in originally. Very few people have the skill to understand it, read it, or to recite a prayer. That's pretty impressive. So Lebanon's still about 40% Christian, from what I learned from you in our conversation. What are they up against? You say you feel pretty safe when you go there, at least to the Christian areas. What would happen if you travel outside those Christian areas?
Well, I was there in August, and a gentleman, a journalist, was down in the Shia sector and took the pictures of something, and he was immediately detained and arrested and released a week later. But that's when they took me up to the convent on the hills above Lebanon in Beirut, and for safety reasons. So I spent a week with a bunch of nuns, which was fantastic. The food was fantastic, very peaceful place. But you don't want to stray outside the areas. It's the ultimate diverse state, and they say if you want to see how diversity fails in the end, look at Lebanon, because it's completely dysfunctional. The financial system has collapsed. We can go into why that is, but it is pretty safe for Christian in the Christian sector.
But outside of, so basically, you're describing two countries in one. You have the Christian section and the Muslim section. And
well,
never shall the two meet.
It's worse than that. It's the Sunnis, the Christians, the Shia. So it's really a three-part state. And weirdly enough, the Shia were the only ones protecting the Christians in the civil war in Syria. So it's really complicated, really a mess. And the U.S. government, Tom Barrack this morning, Trump's envoy to the Middle East, came out and said, you know what, the Turks are doing great. We want to get closer to the Turks. And again, he's being Sunni, focused. Why is that? Is it the money? Is it the Gulf states? Is it Turkey as part of a NATO partner? And I'm not saying I want military action in the Middle East for the Christians, but I just want people to put the Christians first. That's it.
And at least recognize that they're being targeted and marginalized. I mean, what was the Christian population in Lebanon, say, 50 years ago?
Well, in the early 70s, it was 70%. They had a very strong Christian, and then they still do have a Christian form of government. The presidency has to be a Christian. I don't know all the political ins and outs, but it's been a series of events that have destabilized Lebanon and the Christian community intentionally, I believe. There were 500,000 Palestinians brought in, caused a civil war. Then you had the Sunni, the Assad regime invade with the acquiescence of H.W. Bush in the Gulf War. That was a 15-year occupation. You had color revolution in 19 pushed by Soros, which destroyed the financial sector. You had the bomb go off in the Christian sector in the port. And now you got 2 million Sunni refugees from Syria there that don't want to go back because the UN's paying them to stay there. I mean, this is intentional in my view. This doesn't happen over and over and over again unless you want to destroy the only Christian state in the world, in that region, I should say.
Well, in that region, sure.
Yeah.
So the path forward, you say it's complicated. It seems to me like it's impossible. And unless somebody from the United States weighs in, it's going to continue to be ignored. Nobody else is paying attention. The UK, France, the nations of Europe, they've got their own problems. Nobody else is paying attention. It looks like I don't like the word, but it looks like a bleak future.
It does, but it's been that way for a long time. And you look at the Armenian genocide. This has been going on for 100 years. The Armenians were pushed down into the Syrian desert in a death march. 150,000 out of 2 million survived, and they have populated the Beirut in Lebanon areas as well. So these literally are the original Christian. The apostolic church was built here. The apostles went up into Lebanon, into Syria, into Turkey, Armenia, and built the original church. And so the people are telling me, look, this is where Christ walked. We want our roots to stay here. It's important for humanity, and I'm trying to get the word out for them.
And I think that's important. So now you have access to the Pentagon, as we were discussing. That's where we haven't seen each other in some time. But now you have access to ask questions. Is this going to be one of the things you focus on when the people at the podium say, hey, what about Lebanon?
Excuse me. Yes, I am. And I'm not being paid by any of these guys. I'm just concerned about the Christian, excuse me, the Christian community. So, yes, I'm going to be focused on this issue.
Let me ask you one other thing. I'm off topic here. I'm just curious what your reaction is to the pipe bomber being, the alleged pipe bomber being arrested. Doesn't fit any of the narratives that the left would want you to believe. It's been almost 5 years, and suddenly you have a new administration. Within a few months, they've brought a guy in that I think probably could have been caught years ago, but maybe I'm just a cynic. What was your reaction?
I'm with you. It's hard for me to believe anything coming out of our government these days. There's always a hidden agenda, and they don't even, it's kind of up in your grill, as they say. It's, to me, it's obviously pushing some sort of agenda or narrative, and I'm skeptical of anything coming out. So I haven't had a chance to dig into that, but I will.
I appreciate it. Todd Wood, tell the folks where they can find you.
Yeah, cdm.press is our main site. If you check it a few times a day, we got news you're not going to get anywhere else. And I'm on Real L. Todd Wood on X. Thank you, Steve.
Todd, thank you. I always appreciate seeing Todd. He's out there. He puts himself out there to get stories that you're not going to hear anywhere else. And there it is. Lebanon, 40% Christian and the target of change, I suppose. At the Gruber home, we've used probably a dozen more powders, capsules, pills, everything you can think of, morning and night, but no more. Longevity. It's our all-in-one solution. It provides 25 grams of protein per serving, vitamins, minerals, collagen for muscles and joint health, DHA for brain health, probiotics for gut health, and colostrum for immune support. Not only that, it helps my kids with the strength they need for school and sports. It's helping me slim down a little bit. And my wife, who I think is perfect, by the way, says nothing else has done so much for her hair, skin, and nails. So it's good stuff. It really is. Take care of your family like we've been doing the same. LongevityWellness.co. Use the promo code Gruber. You'll save 25% on your order. 10% off your order today at longevity.co, promo code Gruber. You're going to love it. I do. It's like a shake. It's just the best. All right, we'll take a break and be right back. It is The Steve Gruber Show. Well, you hear a lot about polls about all sorts of things these days. What about trust in the mainstream media? How low do you think it is? How about 8%? 8% of the people have a strong approval of the mainstream media. 8%, 8 out of 100. Remarkable, right? My next guest is the president and CEO of Mediapedia, Christine Zerna-Ajewski. She joins me now. Christine, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
I did my best on the last name. I did my best.
You did perfect. That was great.
Well, there you go. 8%. I mean, talk about losing your glory. The days of Walter Cronkite and 60 Minutes being relevant are long gone, aren't they?
It's been a long time since Americans have trusted media, and 8%, that really is an all-time low. I think that's lower than even Congress. And that is, in fact, why we've created Mediapedia. I'm sure this happens to your viewers all the time. They're reading a story, and it's from a purportedly objective media outlet. Halfway through that story, they think, wow, how come there was so much more time given to the left than the right? And it's infuriating. So that's in part why we created Mediapedia. It's to put news consumers back into control and to hold journalists accountable. Here's how we're doing it. One is we are creating the largest database of American journalists that has ever existed. It's akin to what IMDb is to the movie industry. With Mediapedia, you can type in a reporter's name into our search engine and find out everything from where they've worked in the past to whether or not they've made a political donation. The second feature of this platform is a media bias rating. And the way we're doing it is through an AI-driven model that analyzes a reporter's body of work and assigns a bias rating. Having this information can put the news consumer back into control because they can see for themselves the lens through which a reporter is developing or has developed that story. And again, we're also holding journalists accountable because we want them to understand how their bias bleeds into their stories.
I think that's fair. What is the website, or where are you found?
Mediapedia.org. I should emphasize that this is a beta model. As you can imagine, this is a massive undertaking. And so we are working on perfecting the rating system and building out that database of reporters. So when people go to the site, they can only see, probably around 500 reporters' profiles and the bias ratings of about 100. But that will change very quickly coming in the new year.
So there are some people here. I'm just quickly looking them up. You've got people from the Washington Post, the Associated Press, the New York Times, a host of other places. Moderate left. You do have some that are in the center. I don't see anybody to the right that I've found thus far, but what a tool. What a remarkable tool to help people understand what they're getting. Here's one strong left from the Associated Press. I'm shocked to hear that. Another strong left from the Washington Post. I'm shocked to hear that. But what a tool to help people understand who is giving them the news, right?
Right. And look, at Mediapedia, we believe everyone has bias. Journalists certainly have bias. They're humans after all. And we just ask that journalists be transparent about that bias. That in and of itself can restore trust in news. When you read a story that's supposed to be objective and clearly it's not, that makes people feel like they're being lied to. And look, news consumers are sophisticated these days. They're savvy. They can detect when something is false. And again, we want to see trust in journalism restored. We all need news to make decisions from the minute to the major. So let's restore that trust by holding journalists accountable and asking them to be more transparent about the way they're reporting these stories.
Yeah, I'm finding, I know a lot of the names on these lists, obviously. They're names that you would know at home for sure. And it tells you a lot. You think, I'm going to guess, that those on the left are going to say, well, this is just garbage. So how does your metric work? How do you arrive at giving somebody a -3 or a -30 or a +4 or a +20, whatever it turns out to be? How do you arrive? What's the metric? How do you measure?
Sure. So we have a set of 8 criteria. This applies to every single reporter, reporters that are on the right, on the left, that are centered. And because some reporters are honest about the bias that they have. There are conservative reporters that are admittedly conservative. There are reporters on the left that are admittedly left. Again, those reporters tend to work for left-leaning outlets or right-leaning outlets, but the ones that work in legacy media tend to pretend that they're objective. So everyone is subject to the same criteria. That's a set of 8 criteria, and that can be anything from the sourcing that's in a story, how much time or space is given to one side versus the other, and a reporter's body of work. Each story is run through this AI model, and the amalgamation of stories then produces that rating. And so a -50 to a 0 shows the degree of left-leaning bias, 0 is center, and 0 to right shows the degree of right-leaning bias. And going back to what you said about all the reporters on the site at the moment having a left-leaning bias, that's because we've started on legacy media, and legacy media does tend to be very biased.
It does. And if you go to articles, you also evaluate articles. For example, here's one: Trump ventures deeper into anti-immigrant language by calling people from Somalia, whatever. Strong left, -31. But you have other articles that are down the middle. A new jaguar spotted in Arizona points to progress in the Endangered Species Act. It's a center article, has no real bias one way or the other. And so you evaluate all sorts of articles. I think this is a remarkable tool. I really appreciate meeting you, Christine. You come back in the future. Maybe I'll make your list someday. Maybe I'll be important enough to be on your list. I look
We
forward to
will absolutely have you on that list, and send us your suggestions too. We'd love to report on or rate your colleagues as well.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the new tool. It's Mediapedia.org. Mediapedia.org. Go look it up. It's a great tool. Christine, thank you for stopping in.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
There you have it. Look at that. A way to check the journalists and the stories that they report, all in one handy dandy reusable place. Mediapedia.org. I'll be right back. All right, let's check in on sports with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. In NFL Thursday Night Football, the Detroit Lions stayed alive in the NFC playoff race with a 44-30 victory over the Dallas Cowboys at Ford Field. Lions quarterback Jared Goff threw for 309 yards on the night, and running back Jahmyr Gibbs rushed for 3 touchdowns. Defensive end Al-Qadim Muhammad had 3 sacks for the Lion defense. We're now 8-5 on the season. The Cowboys, with the loss, dropped to 6-1. In the NBA last night, there were 5 games. Winners were Philadelphia, Boston, Minnesota, Utah, and the Los Angeles Lakers. In the NHL, there were 10 games last night. Winners included Pittsburgh, the New York Islanders, Calgary, and Edmonton. No top 25 men's college basketball games last night, but on the women's side, third-ranked South Carolina outlasted 22nd-ranked Louisville 79-77, and second-ranked Texas beat 11th-ranked North Carolina 79-64. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. The Lions are alive. Important win for the Lions, obviously, Brock. You know, it's interesting. There are some Lions fans here in D.C., a fair amount of them. I'm pretty impressed, actually.
There are transplanted Michiganders that live everywhere. It does not matter where. You know what? The NFL's the league that's figured it out. You could have fans of all 32 NFL teams in a certain market: New York, Chicago, Detroit, Dallas, Los Angeles, so on and so forth, because they've done such a tremendous job of marketing themselves.
Are we going to get new teams at some point? You say that, it makes me think 32 teams. When are we going to have 36? When are we going to have 40?
36, well, with 4 teams in each division, there's been talk about going to 36 or 40 so they could have more division games in a 17 or potentially an 18-game schedule. So that is a possibility. Maybe some international teams, Toronto, Mexico City, who knows?
Interesting. 18-game schedule, good Lord.
Yeah,
we have enough injuries as it is.
That's going to be coming probably next decade. The players are against it, but the owners want it. The commissioner, Roger Goodell, wants it. So it's going to happen. It's just what are they going to give up to the players in the next collective bargaining agreement?
Yeah, they want it because it means money, but good Lord, these people, they already get the hell beat out of them. I mean, honestly, you have injuries everywhere. Anyhow, Brock, thank you for that. We'll take a break. It's Free Speech, Free for All Friday here on the Steve Gruber Show, 877-310-9966 if you want to connect, and I'll be back in just a moment. Number 3 and 5 for sure.
There's always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
And welcome back to it as we continue another hour here of the program live from Washington, D.C. I can assure you, it doesn't look like that right now. It's snowing hard in the nation's capital right now. Winter has arrived in D.C. It is a free speech, free for all Friday. 3 big things to know this hour. Number 1, is an illegal alien illegal? This is actually an argument that's going on in places. Yes, you came into the country illegally. Yes, you're here illegally. Yes, that makes you an illegal alien by definition of the U.S. Code. Number 2, another kinetic boat strike. Democrats going crazy. Another kinetic boat strike as we continue to take out drug runners. And number 3, big news is Brian Cole Jr. is arrested as the D.C. pipe bomber. We'll get into all of that. But first, it is Free Speech, Free for All Friday, powered by Patriot Mobile's Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. Those whip cracks were a little late, Brock. We'll talk about that. There'll be a write-up.
Sorry, I was a little busy there.
Uh-huh. This is all that matters. This right here.
You don't believe me?
877-310. There he goes. Now he's just out of control. Now he's a lion tamer.
Hey, I didn't hit
you
that
can get
one.
on the
That's
line.
not on me.
Yeah. 877-310-9966. The Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline. Sally is in Michigan. You can join her on the line. Sally, how are you today? Sally, are you there? Did we lose Sally?
We lost her.
Golly.
Wow.
Well, wow. All that work for Sally, all that buildup, all those whip cracks, and bam, Sally whips her way out the door. Anyhow, 877-310-9966. I do want to share some other things with you this hour, more seriously. I just mentioned the kinetic strike on another boat. Democrats continue to defend the narco-terrorist drug runners over the safety of Americans. To me, it's unbelievable. I think just about everybody now knows somebody personally or through a connection, somebody who's died of an overdose in this country. I do. A friend of mine had his 19-year-old son die of a fentanyl overdose last year. Tragic story. He went out on a Saturday night, screwed around a little bit. It was a death sentence. But yet Democrats continue to defend the drug runners. Listen to this.
Was this self-defense, and how do the rules of international waters play into whether this was a war crime?
Yeah, in my opinion, no. This is not self-defense, and no matter where you do the strike, if it's not self-defense, then it's illegal. And look, I have a lot of sympathy for the general idea that when we send our service members out into combat, they got some very difficult decisions to make. When you look at what was going on in Iraq and Afghanistan, and you're stopping someone, do they have a gun? Do they have a suicide vest? Are they a threat? When you're in the middle of an insurgency with roadside bombs and car bombs and all of that, even in the aftermath of the Afghanistan pullout, when we had that suicide bomber kill 13 service members and hundreds of people in Kabul, and we did that strike against a car that we thought was a threat that turned out not to be a threat, I have some sympathy for that. But people on a boat in the middle of the Caribbean carrying cocaine are not a direct threat to the lives of our service members or Americans.
I guess laced cocaine is a good thing. It's good for the boys and girls. Because all of these drugs, be it marijuana or cocaine or fentanyl directly, whatever it is, it's laced, a lot of it, with fentanyl. It's a deadly poison. It's interesting. I don't think that gentleman or other people standing on his side of the aisle voiced complaints when Barack Obama unleashed hundreds, literally hundreds of drone strikes, killing people, including Americans. 3 American citizens killed overseas by Barack Obama, who also dropped more than 90,000 bombs on 15 countries during his tenure. Double standards much? It's outrageous, actually. Meanwhile, you still have the seditious six out there pushing the idea, don't follow illegal orders, don't follow unlawful orders. You know, it's like Nuremberg. You'll be in a Nuremberg type trial. I mean, what the hell are they doing? Mark Kelly should be ashamed of himself, but he's not. He's a Navy veteran, a NASA astronaut, and a guy who continues to promote the idea that somehow those on the front lines, our war fighters, the men and women of the United States military, pick your branch, doesn't matter, that somehow those folks should say, no, that's an illegal order. I'm not going to follow that. He knows better, and he keeps pushing it. Again yesterday. Here he is.
Now, we have members of the United States military that have been put in an impossible situation because they're given, in the case of what we've seen here over the last couple of days, clearly unlawful, illegal orders. And there's tremendous pressure on them. And that was the point, of our video, is just to remind, members of the military that they have an obligation to follow the law. It wasn't specific to this case, but when you consider who this Secretary of Defense is and who this president is, we felt it was a very important message to get to our warfighters.
Well, we're going to play that again, and here's why. He says, given clearly illegal, unlawful orders over the last few days. And then he said nothing specific to this case. He talks out both sides of his mouth in 30 seconds. In 30 seconds, Senator Mark Kelly talks out both sides of his mouth. Listen to it again.
Now, we have members of the United States military that have been put in an impossible situation because they're given, in the case of what we've seen here over the last couple of days, clearly unlawful, illegal orders. And there's tremendous pressure on them. And that was the point, of our video, is just to remind, members of the military that they have an obligation to follow the law. It wasn't specific to this case, but when you consider who this Secretary of Defense is and who this president is, we felt it was a very important message to get to our warfighters.
What is the message? You've clearly been given illegal, unlawful orders, but there's nothing specific to this case? What a jackass. And that's being polite, because that's about as far as I can go here. What a jackass. This guy is undermining the chain of command. He's undermining the authority of the commander-in-chief. He's undermining the confidence, not just inside the military, but across this country, in our military. Clearly illegal, unlawful orders, but nothing specific. Well, either it's clearly unlawful orders or it's not. It can't be both. These people are dangerous, and what they're doing is dangerous and clearly out of line. I do think that Mark Kelly should now be recalled to the United States military and answer for this. What is it? You say there's clearly illegal, unlawful orders. You're telling people in the military not to follow clearly illegal, unlawful orders, yet you provide no details, no specifics, no examples, and then you say you don't have any. You can't have it both ways, Senator. You cannot have it both ways, Senator. Either there are unlawful orders or there are not. You are undermining the confidence of the men and women that defend this country every day. It is outrageous. You need to be held to account, Senator. You need to be held to account today. Absolutely outrageous. All right, I'm going to take a break. Let my blood pressure come down just a little bit. This is the Steve Gruber Show, Free for All Friday, live from the nation's capital. I'll be right back. Well, it's that time of the week when we bring in the most talented, best-looking, most capable attorney in the history of attorneys, Steve Doolin. Here he is, everybody. Look, it's Doolin.
You're, as always, too kind.
Yeah, okay. So I want to play you something. Steve Doolin is also a military veteran, correct?
Correct. Former U.S. Army Infantry Sergeant.
There you go. Sergeant Doolin, I want you to put on your Sergeant Doolin hat for this, because it seems the seditious six just can't stop digging the hole. Most notably, Mark Kelly, Navy veteran, NASA astronaut, continues to throw this idea of illegal, unlawful orders. And this time, I think he goes a step further. Listen to this.
Now, we have members of the United States military that have been put in an impossible situation because they're given, in the case of what we've seen here over the last couple of days, clearly unlawful, illegal orders. And there's tremendous pressure on them. And that was the point, of our video, is just to remind, members of the military that they have an obligation to follow the law. It wasn't specific to this case, but when you consider who this Secretary of Defense is and who this president is, we felt it was a very important message to get to our warfighters.
All right. Clearly unlawful, illegal orders. Just in the last couple of days, he says. He's not ambiguous about it. Clearly unlawful, illegal orders, but nothing specific to this case. I'm sorry. That makes my head hurt a little bit, Mr. Doolin. What are you hearing? What do you take away from that?
Well, the not specific part, I heard he was sort of going back in time and saying when the video from the 6 was first released, at that time, they didn't have a clear case in mind. So at that time, based on the tone of the whole thing, you and I talked about it, and I said it seems wrong to me, right? And it specifically seemed wrong according to 18 U.S. Code Section 2387, which is incitement to mutiny, and it carries up to a 10-year prison sentence. And the idea there is, the specific language has to do with encouraging disobeying orders. Whosoever advises, counsels, urges, or in any manner causes or attempts to cause insubordination, etc., including refusal of duty and mutiny, carries up to a 10-year prison sentence. And that when the statement first came out, that's what I thought this could be covered by. And then, of course, subsequently found out that specifically Senator Kelly still subject to recall to active duty for court-martial because of his retirement status, right? A lot of us, me included, are not retired. We simply did what's called end term of service, and now we are civilians. And so this statute I just read would cover anyone, not
Let me ask you specifically.
Yeah.
He now says that they've been, over the last couple of days, given clearly unlawful illegal orders. He's saying that they've been given unlawful illegal orders. He's not ambiguous about it at all. That's a problem.
That really is a problem, because what you've got, and this is something people have been talking about for the last week or more, is what you've got there is he is also in a position of authority as a senator. The original video also said, "We've got your back," or words to that effect. I haven't listened to it for an entire week, but I believe it said something about "we've got your back," meaning that somehow he thought that he could provide support and protection for people who refuse orders. It's not up to every link in the chain of command to decide whether an order is illegal unless it clearly violates the law of war, right? And I mentioned the history of the development of the training in the military. It came from the My Lai massacre during Vietnam, when slaughtering innocent civilians, including women and children, is clearly unlawful. And so if I'm the machine gunner on the ground and somebody says, shoot those people over there who are presenting no threat and are unlikely to be enemy combatants, I have to refuse to pull the trigger at that moment. That's what this the training is referring to, refusing unlawful orders.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that I'm supposed to make fine distinctions of law, including constitutionality, when I'm deciding whether to follow orders. And those things are decided much later by courts, including the U.S. Supreme Court. So when
we
he
thought
says
he was across the
thinks
line before. He was across the line in my estimation before. I think you agreed with that. But saying that there are clearly unlawful illegal orders has no example to give. I think he's gone a step further.
Right.
I think he's farther over the line than he was before. So you say you end your term of service, I think is how you put it. But he can be recalled. He can be put before the board. He can be court-martialed, right? I mean, that could happen, especially based on this comment.
Yeah, it could, because, I mean, essentially he's jumping into the middle of the chain of command and telling people that the orders that were given were unlawful. And he's the one putting pressure. He used the word pressure, right? He's putting pressure on everybody in that chain of command from outside. That's what he's doing. And he's essentially countermanding their superiors. So what's happening is he's trying to interject himself into the chain of command. And I really do think he stepped over the line at this point. I told you last time I thought he was tap dancing on the edge of the line. It feels to me like he crossed over at this point.
Well, and we'll find out what the response is going to be. I don't think it can be let stand. I think that this has to be pursued. I think that he has to be held accountable for his words, because I find them dangerous, reckless, and threatening. Doolin, I got to leave it there. I appreciate your Sergeant Doolin hat today. It looks good on you. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Greatly appreciate it. There you have it. So from a veteran, from an attorney, from a guy who served, there you have it. And I'm told that if a soldier refuses an order, and it is lawful and legal, it's the soldier that pays the price, right? It's not this senator or that member of Congress. It's the soldier, the man or woman on the front lines that pays that price. Let's be honest about that. I'll take a break. I'll be right back. All right. According to my weather app on my phone, I use the weather app all the time. I'm sure you do the same. It says it's 7 degrees at the home office. Currently, it's snowing hard in D.C. It's a little bit warmer than that. But Ivy sent me a picture earlier. We've got one of those weather stations in the yard, right? So you got this, I don't know, little digital screen inside the house. It said -4. -4. Well, some more cold temperatures coming our way over the next few days. A real blast of cold winter weather settling into Michigan right now. It's cold out there. Is it cold, Anthony? Is it cold, Brock?
Yeah, it's pretty cold.
Yeah. So there you go. Anyhow, we'll keep an eye on the weather, but it's a little early for this kind of just hard cold. It's good. It's good. Takes away a lot of the pests that come out in the spring. If you knock them down with really cold weather in the winter, you get less pests in the spring, which is interesting. If you missed it yesterday, Donald Trump hosted the Washington Accords, a Rwanda-Congo peace deal, and vows that U.S. rare earths will be purchased from both of those countries to help them financially going forward. And you have to wonder, after our conversation with Todd Wood earlier, he said the reason we're working so hard in Nigeria to stop the killing is because they have rare earth elements as well. And we're doing nothing in Lebanon because Lebanon has nothing to offer. sad state of affairs if that's actually true, but that was the assertion made here by Todd Wood earlier in the program, who's been to Lebanon a number of times in the last year or two. He says, look, Lebanon doesn't have any minerals. They don't have any natural resources that are of value to anybody. So here we sit trying to figure out what happens next there as the slaughter of Christians continues. Anyhow, Rwanda and Congo had been at war for something like 40 years, and it was at the new Trump Institute of Peace. The Trump Institute of Peace, the Washington Accords between Rwanda and Congo. He is so far the peace president. We'll see what happens in Venezuela, but right now he is the peace president. And I applaud him for being able to bring countries to the table that had been at war for so many years. I'll take a break. I'll be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show on a Friday after this. Here's a story you're not going to hear anywhere else. An executive at Campbell's Soup. Campbell's Soup, been around forever, right? Little kid there, chicken noodle soup. You're homesick from school. What's your mom give you? Campbell's Soup. Fired after he made statements claiming the company currently uses bioengineered meat in its products. Lab-grown meat. Well, I don't know if it's true or not. He was fired for that claim. Michigan State Representative Jerry Nair is here. He's from Michigan 92. Jerry, thank you for stopping in.
Oh, thank you very much. It seems like this keeps on cropping up every few months.
It does. Tell the folks where Michigan 92 is for reference.
Oh, right in the middle of the mitten, Mount Pleasant, Alma, St. Louis, and Breckenridge, or not, Ithaca are my territory, and
Sure.
just right in the middle of food production country.
Yeah, agriculture country. I killed my first deer in Ithaca about 10,000 years ago. So I know the area reasonably well. I was younger then. But the fact of the matter is this is ag country. We have cows, we have chickens, we have pigs, we have it all in Michigan, of course. Why would lab-grown meat be a thing in the first place?
It's mainly the environmentalists that are trying to, don't want the natural processed foods from animals because they value them as much as human life.
And they claim that it creates climate change. How's the climate change today in Lansing? About 7 degrees worth of climate change from what I can tell, looking at my app here. But the bigger point is this. You say that if we're going to have this product, this Petri dish meat, lab-grown, whatever the hell it is, it has to be labeled. I agree with you on that. I think most people would. Tell us about what you think we should do.
Yeah. Well, the bill I'm sponsoring just simply requires that you know where that protein is produced at. Whether it be off the hoof or out of a petri dish. We simply just want that type of labeling on there. And so I don't care where you get your meat product from, but you should at least know how it's grown or how it's produced. And as far as this environmental impact that livestock production has, we're simply just trading environmental impacts. There's an environmental impact, whether it's harvested from the field or from the hoof or from the ground. We're not changing what happens to the environment that much, whether we choose it to come from a lab or come from an animal.
Yeah, you put forth House Bill 4076. It would require clear and obvious labeling on all synthetically lab-grown meat. First of all, I think synthetically grown meat should not even be allowed. But look, that's me. I think that to me, it just sounds disgusting. I mean, I don't know what else I would say. It just sounds disgusting to me. I mean,
well,
I grew up in farm country, and then I went to college in Montana in ranch country. I've been around, farm animals and the natural process, as you put it, Jerry. I think this is insane. I mean, I see nothing good coming from this pursuit. Go ahead.
Well, farmers are more than open on how their animals are raised and fed. And we've got traceability on this. Right now, we don't know how these products are being produced in the lab. Trade patents and stuff like that allows limited access to how that's done. And so, yeah, it's highly questionable of the materials used to produce, this biomaterial. And I find it sort of highly hypocritical where the environmentalists want everything natural, but they'll get behind this stuff that's produced in a lab and it has nothing to do with nature.
Sure, and I don't know the validity of the statements made by this now former executive at Campbell's, but he said they are using bioengineered meat from a 3D printer and was included in the food items being sold by Campbell. Says he won't buy anything from Campbell's because of this. Do we need an investigation? Is there any Campbell products produced in Michigan that could be subject to review?
I don't think there's any production here in Michigan by Campbell's there, but I think it shows the clear disconnect between the boardroom and the food processing facility that Campbell's does. You and I have been raised on Campbell's. We know that the product's good. The company is, I think, doing everything above board and within the law to produce safe food. And I think it just is simply a disconnect between the folks in the boardroom making these statements and not being aware of what's actually going on. at the processing facilities that Campbell's runs.
What if he's right? What if he knows what he's talking about? Because he didn't do it once or twice. He's maintained that this is happening. What if it turns out to be true? What do you think should be the outcome?
Well, it's worthy of an investigation there, but I think Campbell's just needs to get out ahead of this. There, open up their facility to the news and to the public there, and let them see how it's actually done. I hope that they have nothing to hide there, and the best thing, it's on Campbell's now just to prove that information that they're saying is correct, and that they have safe food that's produced in by all safety standards that the USDA and FDA have out there.
I would think that this would be a bipartisan issue. I would think that people would get behind Bill 4076, your legislation to make sure that there's labeling of such products if they're allowed to be on the shelf in the first place, which I don't think they should be. What have you gotten for support thus far?
Well, it's out of the House with pretty strong bipartisan support on both sides. We're just waiting for our opportunity to take it before the Senate Natural Resources and Agriculture Committee to move it further there. But I don't see any problem and haven't gotten any static back on support. So hopefully
we'll make it through the Senate.
Yep, hopefully next year we can get it moving again and get it onto the governor's desk.
Oh, I'd like to see that. I think most people listening to this right now would like to see that. I mean, how else? We're at a place where we're getting rid of dyes and highly processed garbage and too much sugar, and they want to replace it with this. I think that most people are going to be on board with, no, that's probably a bad idea. Jerry Nair, really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for the opportunity to come on.
Absolutely. I'll take your feedback on that, no pun intended. Send me an email, stevegruber.com. stevegruber.com. Tell me, what do you think about that? Now, me personally, I would never knowingly eat lab meat, whatever the hell that is. Cultured cells is what that is, I guess. I would never knowingly eat lab-created protein. How do you feel about it? Go to stevegruber.com. Send me an email. By the way, you can always listen live at stevegruber.com. Been some changes in our lineup for stations in the last week. You probably know that by now. Been some changes, but you can always catch the program live at stevegruber.com or on places like YouTube, where you can see me in living color every day and be part of a great conversation. Great people there on YouTube having conversations about the headlines of the day, or sometimes less important things, and just having fun. It becomes a bit of a community, I guess, and you'll enjoy it. When we come back, the best part of the program, how do I know? Because Ivy is coming up in a moment. All right, diving back into the best part of the program. I don't know if it's snowing in Michigan. I know it's cold because Ivy sent me a picture, said it was negative 3.8 or something like that. And I said, woo. She joins me now. Ivy, I know it's cold there, colder than it is here. It is snowing hard here, though. Is it snowing there?
It is not, no, just frigid temperatures.
Frigid temperatures, yeah. Yeah, the ponds are going to be frozen. Be careful on the thin ice, though, folks. Don't get too confident too early. As Ivy well knows, the most frightening sound in all of nature is ice cracking under your feet. It'll stop your heart every single time.
It certainly does. It certainly does.
Yeah.
And, you know, every year we read about people going through the ice, having to pull their vehicles out, which is unbelievably difficult and very costly. Your insurance doesn't cover such a thing, so maybe just be
if
careful.
your car goes through the ice and sits at the bottom of the lake, it's your responsibility to get it out. The insurance company will not pay for it, and every day that it sits there, you get fined by the state. But I always like the fellows that, you know, come spring, they're ice fishing. The next thing you know, they're floating on a big chunk of ice across Saginaw Bay, and they have to be rescued. Guys, come on. Stop.
It can't be that important to fish. I mean, I love fishing, and it is my #1 hobby, but, you know, not at that type of risk. But, you know, I love to talk about the dumbest thing that I heard all week on Fridays, generally. And I want you to hear this bite from Ilhan Omar, if you want to put that bite one.
And his cronies want to act like we have no power to respond. The truth is we are more powerful than we think we are. And I want to underscore the importance of using every single leverage that we have at our arsenal, because we do have a lot of leverage. We need to make sure that those who are collaborating with the authoritarian regime pay a costly price.
Sounds kind of similar to some other things we've heard recently. What does pay a costly price mean? That's when, like an Afghani shoots 2 unarmed people and kills one and severely injures another. That's what happens when you say things like that. So
absolutely true.
Don't
it's
say
dangerous
stupid
rhetoric.
things like this.
And they keep doing it. They keep telling us that Donald Trump is the danger. And I want to bring the shooter here, the alleged pipe bomber arrested. Boy, does this blow up narratives. It's a 30-year-old African-American guy who was a hermit in his mom's home in suburban D.C., about 30 miles out in Virginia. I thought it was guys like me that were the biggest threat to America. Here's a guy that planted 2 bombs, lethal bombs, functional bombs, outside the DNC and the RNC on the evening of January the 5th, 2021. I mean, look, a lot of people can be dangerous, but stop trying to label me as some sort of a danger to America. Stop it. I'm tired of it.
Right. Well, the FBI and there was intelligence that actually the reason that this case was, broken and they found the guy was evidence that had already been collected and then re-reviewed. Had a bunch of policing had occurred.
There was nothing new.
There was nothing new. They actually went and were like, oh, here's this guy's credit card statements. Here's his cell phone records. They tied it all together and they said, hey, I think this is our guy. Now, obviously, he's innocent until proven guilty, but all of the, evidence right now is pointing to this is the guy. And but unbelievable that you wonder why under the Biden administration did it take so long for this guy to be caught or not caught at all. And then now with Trump being in office, the AG and the FBI and the other folks involved.
Opinion. It was not a priority. It was not a priority. They were focused on arresting grandma for being in the nation's capital on January the 6th, along with 1,500 other people. They were focused on prosecuting J6 people. They didn't care about
Donald
this case.
Trump.
And if they did know, and going after Donald Trump, and if they didn't know, or if they did know who this guy was, 2 things. If they didn't know, they're incompetent. It was just incompetence because there's no new evidence here, no new tip. And if they did know, then it's worse. If they just turned away from it because they didn't like that it didn't fit the narrative. If it had been some hillbilly from Nashville, they'd have been all over it, right?
I want you to hear another bite that I have from Omar, and it's a little long, so I'm going to cut it off early, but let's play that one, Anthony.
Sentencing for 9 Somali American men is set for next week in Minneapolis, but a newly elected official is asking for leniency.
Minnesota Representative-elect Ilhan Omar wrote a letter to the judge asking for compassion instead of decades of prison time.
And Fox 9's Karen Scullin joins us now with what she had to say to defense attorneys and U.S. Attorney Andy Luger. Karen?
Well, defense attorneys are asking for leniency, but so are several others who filed letters to the judge on behalf of the defendants. But U.S. prosecutors responded tonight with strong arguments why all of them should, in fact, receive the recommended sentence. Election night was just 2 days ago, but it seems Minnesota Representative-elect Ilhan Omar may have already made her first move as an elected official. In a letter signed November 8th, Omar asks a U.S. district judge for compassion when sentencing 9 Minnesota Somali American men convicted of trying to join the terrorist group ISIS. She says the best deterrent to fanaticism is a system of compassion. We must alter our attitude and approach if we truly want to affect change. We should refocus our efforts on inclusion and rehabilitation.
Okay, Anthony,
but
get up there.
she's not the only one. 13 letters.
So there we go. This is when she was first elected. I believe it's 2017, 2000. It could have even been 2007. I have to go back and recall. I don't recall the exact date.
It's 2020. It's okay.
Okay, 2020. But again,
here's
soft on crime.
Yeah.
Being...
And here's the argument that they make. Well, most of them are peaceful, and that's fine, but that's not the point. Most Germans were peaceful too, except for a few on the fringe, and they got everybody led into a big war. Most people are peaceful, except those that are not, and they lead people into war. That's the problem that you have here. Stop worrying about, oh, most of them are peaceful. Yeah, most of them don't matter. It's the ones that are violent that matter, and that's the problem with what we're seeing there.
Right, absolutely. And it goes back to this being soft on crime. And how many crimes recently have we seen of people being jailed, let out, and then committing more crimes?
Too many.
Kill people,
the one guy that I just saw,
rape people.
72 arrests. 72 arrests. I got to leave it right there, Ivy. Appreciate you. Love you.
I love you too.
Yeah, it's going to be cold. I got that figured out. It's going to be a cold day here in the nation's capital, that's for sure. As it's snowing hard here, it's in the single digits at home, but it's going to warm up to a balmy 25, I see. So no complaints, right? It's going to be nice out there. This is a pattern we're in for a while here. The whole middle of December here is going to be really cold, single digits, sometimes below zero, apparently. Good for the ski resorts, right? My kids will love it. They'll get a chance to get out on the hills and ski and snowboard and all that happy stuff. I don't do that because if I did, I'd be straight lined right to the emergency room. And then Ivy'd have to take me in there and we'd have those conversations about why you're doing that and so on and so forth. Because gravity always wins, especially if you have pieces of slick wood on your feet going really fast down a steep mountain. That's a good way to get, turn yourself into a popsicle. Anyhow, it's been a busy week here in D.C. I'm trying to get an appointment with Caroline Levitt today. She's been out this week because she hasn't felt well. I'm trying to get an appointment with Caroline Levitt to talk about some things because in the new year, the word is I'm going to be in D.C. more, which I'm glad to report. I'm going to be in D.C. more, have a chance to have access to the president like I did this week on a more regular basis, which would be nice. That way I can report to you what's happening in D.C. on important legislation, or possibly with what's going on in Venezuela or the border or the economy, whatever it may be. More access means better information for you. And that's what we work hard to do here every day. So in the new year, 2026, I think I'll be here in D.C. more. And I think that's good. Well, I enjoy it. I'm not going to kid you. I love the access. I love the ability to ask the president questions on a regular basis when given the opportunity. I love the opportunity to ask Caroline Levitt questions or any of the other major players at the DOJ or the Department of Health and Human Services, wherever it might be, Homeland Security, whatever. Being part of the club is pretty special for me, and it's good for you as a listener and viewer of the program as well. So here's the 2026. We're almost there, and hopefully it's going to be a good one. Fight the good fight and keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is the Steve Gruber Show. Remember, work harder and be better.